Hi, I'm Chad with Move Forward Guitar. This lesson is from our series, How to Memorize Guitar Notes. In this lesson, I'm going to show you a trick for finding all the G, A, and B notes on your fretboard. First off, if you like all the diagrams from this series, including the diagrams from this lesson, you can download our free e-guide, Memorize Guitar Notes. But I am working on it right now as I'm filming this lesson, so it might not be available as you're watching the lesson. But once it is available, a link will pop up on the screen that will allow you to download it. And like I said, it's free, so there's no reason not to download it when it is available. This is part 9 from our series, How to Memorize Guitar Notes. If you'd like to go back and start at the beginning, you can click the link on the screen. So like I said, in this lesson, I'm going to teach you a trick to quickly find all the G, A, and B notes which spell GAB. And this again is something that can be helpful to you. I'm just giving as many tips and tricks that I know that I think are helpful, and you can pick and choose what works for you and combine the ones that work and throw out the other ones. And like I said, I'm just going to give as many tips and tricks as I can so that you can try them out and find out what is most effective for you and what you can focus on and use to learn all the notes up and down your fretboard. And this obviously will only give you 3 notes, G, A, and B, but it actually covers a pretty substantial part of your fretboard, and then by doing that, it's easier to add in other notes and then reference these notes to see where you are. And if you do this combined with other notes that you've learned through other tricks, it just eventually all becomes clear to you. You always have reference points no matter where you are on the fretboard to what note you're actually on. So the first thing we're going to do is just start with the open G string. So that is the 3rd string open. And you can just use the octave game or the octave shapes to find the G notes, except we're not going to go up to the 12th fret. So don't go up to the 12th fret. So you just use the octave game and the shapes to find all the G notes, which would all be right there. And really visualize where those land, compare them to the dots. For example, this G and this G, which are the 6th and 1st string, so they're obviously in the same fret, land on this dot. This G, which is on the 4th string, lands on this dot, and so on. These 2 Gs aren't on dots. And of course you have your open string. So really use your fret markers to visualize where these are landing on your fretboard. So once you have that down, I'm going to show you a little trick to find the A and B notes really quickly because of G. So here's the musical alphabet again, just the natural notes A through G. If we rearrange it so that G is our starting point, so it's still just in order, but we're starting on G, so it's going G, then starting over at A, B, C, D, E, F. So G is just our first point, just so it's easier to visualize. If you notice, your G, A, and B are right next to each other, which spells GAB, and there's a whole step in between each of the notes. So G to A is a whole step, and A to B is a whole step. So what that means, if we go back to the G notes on our fretboard, is that if we start on G, if we go up a whole step, we're always going to hit an A note. If we go up another whole step, we're always going to hit a B note, and that's going to work everywhere that we have a G on the fretboard. So on your 6th string, you would have G, A, B there, which spells GAB, and then you could do it for every string, and it would look like this. So starting on all your G notes, you would end up spelling GAB. And a good starting point, if this seems overwhelming just looking at this right now, is to start with these 3 notes, this G, A, and B, because each one falls on a fret marker. It falls on your first 3 fret markers. So on your 6th string, on your first 3 fret markers are your first G, A, B, or GAB. And then of course it would be repeated on the 1st string as well, because anything that happens on the 6th string happens on the 1st string. So you can start there and then just slowly start working through the other strings and recognizing where everything lands compared to the fret markers, and then eventually just quickly being able to visualize where they are. But if you start with G notes, find all those, get really good at knowing where they are on your fretboard. You're just adding in an A and a B whole steps up from that G note. So a whole step up to A, whole step up to B, and it spells GAB everywhere on your fretboard. And once you have it there on your fretboard, you can add in any that are on your 12th fret or up. So for example, these right here are on my 12th fret and up, so that would obviously happen again down here with my open strings. So I can add those in. As you can see, I've added the A, this B, and this B, which are all right here, because anything that happens in the 12th fret up is happening down here with the open strings up. And then I can add everything higher past the 12th fret that isn't written right now. That's just an octave higher that's happening down here, and it would look like this. And once you have the GABs, you can fill in any of these spots fairly easily because you know that F is a whole step down from G, E is a half step down from F. If you're just looking at your musical alphabet, E and F are always a half step apart, and B and C are always a half step apart. Everything else with the natural notes is a whole step apart. And then B, of course, you have that half step again to C. C to D is whole step, of course. D to E is whole step, of course. And then you have that F half step again, which is just an octave higher than what happened down here. So you can go through and find these notes quickly as well, just by understanding the distances between everything. That with the natural notes, again, your half steps are always between E and F and B and C, and everything else is a whole step. And then once you find natural notes like that, in between any of the natural notes is a sharp or a flat, and it's just taking the one below and raising it half a step, or the one above and lowering it half a step. And if you take the one below and raise it, that would be that note name. So if I was on A, it'd be A plus the sharp, so A sharp. Or if I took the B and lowered it, it'd be B plus the flat, so B flat. So this is either an A sharp or B flat. So this is just another trick where you can quickly find these three notes and use those as references to find other notes really quickly. And like I said, I'm going to keep giving you more tips and tricks that you can add to this or build on from this, or maybe you don't like this trick as much as others. So just keep watching. You'll find stuff that really helps you out, and pick and choose what works for you. Just try them out, and eventually the fretboard is just going to totally open up to you and be really easy for you to figure out where all the notes are. So that's a trick for finding all the G, A, and B notes. Go ahead and move on to the next lesson where I'm going to show you a trick for quickly finding all the B, E, A, and D notes. And be sure to download the e-guide. All the diagrams are in there. And be sure to subscribe because we add at least one new lesson every day.